Hi everybody, I wanted to go over some of the debt extinguishment in terms of bond retirement here. And what I wanted to do specifically is go over this question regarding these 12% bonds payable of Nyman Company. They had a carrying amount of 2,080,000 on December 31, 2012. The bonds, which had a face value of 2 million, were issued at a premium to yield 10%. Nyman uses the effective interest method of amortization. Interest is paid on June 30th and December 31. On June 30th, 2013, several years before maturity, Nyman retired the bonds at 104 plus accrued interest. The loss on retirement ignoring taxes is. So what we want to look at here is how do we solve this question is we want to first figure out what is the carrying amount of this bond at the point of extinguishment. And the way to do that, the only way we can do this is by looking at what is the interest expense coming up and what was the amortization during that interest expense. So the best way to start is to look at the dates. So we said we issued this on December 31, 2012, right? And the bonds on June 30th, 2013, the bonds were already being retired, right? So they were only out for 6 months. And let's see, Nyman retired the bonds at 104 plus accrued interest. So the idea is, what was the gain loss on the bonds? I would look at, first of all, what did they pay for them? So 104 is just a 2 million, right? It's just a 2 million times 1.04. So what they ended up paying for this thing was basically 2,080,000. Now that's how much they paid for it. Now you want to look at what was the carrying amount at the time of redemption, right? So how do we know what's the carrying amount at time redemption? So we know what was the initial carrying amount, right? And all we got to do is figure out the effective interest expense for one period versus the coupon for one period to see what's the new carrying amount. So if we multiply 2.08 million by the 6 month yield, that's going to be this times 0.05, right? 0.05, that's the yield, right? And if we multiply this by 0.06, that's the coupon, right? And we know the difference between the yield and the coupon is what we're looking for, which is the amortization, right? So in this case, what we're working with is looking at the difference between these two numbers and subtracting that from 2,080,000, which was the beginning. So in order to subtract that, we have to look at the calculation. So we have 2 million times 0.06, right? So that's 120,000. And we have 2.08 million times 0.05, all right? And looking through these calculations, we end up getting 2.8 minus 16. And we get the carrying value. 16 is basically the difference between the product of this and the product of this. And since we have 2.080, that's what we paid for it, and the reduced carrying balance was 2,064,000 because we reduced it by 16. That was the amortization amount. So now we subtract 2.80 from 2.064 to figure out the gain loss, and we end up getting 16,000, which is B.